and welcome to the London 2012 Plan for Success webinar, in which we aim to prepare UK businesses for the Games. My name is Phoebe Leet and I'm the Head of HR for the UK and Ireland at Cisco. And today I'm pleased to welcome Danny Bowering from Deloitte and Chris Daniels from Lloyds. Deloitte are the official professional services provider, and they have already provided over 400,000 man-hours of expertise to the organising committee. And Lloyds are the official banking and insurance provider, and I know are a prime example of an organisation that are going to be impacted in a variety of ways during the Games, which we're going to talk to Chris about. In this session, we're going to look at some of the potential people issues that may arise during the Games, one of which is potentially higher levels of absenteeism. Another is a large percentage of your employees wanting to take annual leave at the same time. And lastly, employees might have issues in terms of getting to their place of work on time because of all of the travel disruption, because of the influx of visitors that we have during the Games. We're going to have time for some questions, and if you'd like to ask a question, please post it. So, let's start with Deloitte and Danny. In your conversation with clients, what are they highlighting as the major issues in their preparations for London 2012?
It varies greatly across industries. One of the big challenges across all industries is understanding client and customer demand. Everything starts with our customers and our clients, so matching up and creating a readiness program that is cognizant of what demand is actually going to be like for businesses is a real challenge. Our research in the summer of this year suggests that over 40% of large businesses are most concerned about staff unavailability.
And what can businesses do now to start preparing for the Games?
I guess from a resourcing perspective, there are a number of options, but a lot of organisations are surveying their people to find out whether they intend to take holiday during the Games, whether they intend to be volunteers, perhaps even people who are in the reserve forces who might be required during the Games. So there's a lot of people to consider and a lot of considerations for organisations. There's the option of surveying your whole organisation, also maybe empowering leaders at business unit level to make their own decisions and to ask their own people about their plans for next summer. Some people, of course, won't even stay in London and won't want to watch the Games, and we shouldn't forget that some people will be choosing to holiday as normal or go away from London during the Games period. So from an HR and a resourcing perspective, trying to understand what your people's plans are and match that to the best information you can get about client demand, I think that's the mix that you're looking for, trying to bridge the gap between those 2 points.
And what is Deloitte's own Games readiness plan?
We've been going since about November of last year with what we call our Games Readiness Steering Group, which is it's a very grand title, but effectively it's a small group of people who are representative of the key parts of our organisation. David Gill, who is a partner who heads up internal client services for Deloitte, looks after the group and runs the steering group meetings. We've got representation from HR, from procurement, from IT, from travel, accommodation, all the parts of our business that we think will be affected by the Games. So our considerations range from working out how we're going to host our graduate welcome events next summer and where we're going to host those, through to what are the implications of perhaps more remote and home working on our infrastructure and some of our processes. But all the time bearing in mind that our clients are the most important thing, and we need to make sure that we can deliver the same high level of service that we always provide to our clients.
Okay, great. Chris, let's move to you. So what is Lloyds doing to be Games ready? What plans do you have in place?
We're very similar to Deloitte. We've got similar Games readiness committees, etc. But if I look at, I split our staff into about 4 different types. We've got one that absolutely critically need to be in office, need to be in London, so the trading floor. Mm-hmm. The second is the retail branch staff that need to be around, but they can come in at different times, work a bit more flexibly. Thirdly, we've got the office-based staff. Great, they can remote work, they're likely to be doing slightly less. And then finally, we've got a big category who are either holidaying, but are also potentially working in some capacity at the Games, either as volunteers or as games time stuff, we've got branches in the park itself to deal with the athletes, to deal with the media. And if I take the trading floor as one example, we've always got a reserve trading floor out in Kent that's ready to set up in case there's an emergency, in case London shuts down. Now, during the games time, we're going to run that trading floor with our London city-based trading floor side by side, just to make sure that if London shuts down for whatever reason, we're just ready to go and we can continue, with the financial liquidity and managing the bank's money risk the whole time. If we take the retail stuff as a different example, they very much work on a holiday calendar basis. We've just opened that holiday calendar a lot earlier this year, so that people can plan and the line managers can deal with who's around, who isn't around, and we're giving everyone a lot more time to deal with the issues.
Okay, that's interesting. So really moving on from that, and some of the things that you've touched on there is how we enable businesses to have really continued productivity and potentially look at reducing absenteeism and people wanting to take annual leave at that time. And it sounds like, flexible working practices and could be one of the solutions. So what we mean by flexible working is really the ability to work anytime, anywhere. And at Cisco, it's really a case that we believe work is a thing that you do rather than a place you go. And obviously that works for Cisco's business, but doesn't necessarily work across all industries. But flexible working is so important to us that we actually did a survey recently, and it was a global survey amongst Cisco employees. And we found that 2/3 of our employees actually place a higher value on workplace flexibility rather than their salary. So that was certainly an interesting finding. So Danny, what are the advantages for employers of allowing flexible working arrangements? Do you see?
They're many and varied. I think the first thing to say, though, is that it's really dependent on the industry. Now, clearly, a lot of people simply cannot work from home, cannot work from alternate locations even. But in industries where that is possible, it can create a huge amount of efficiencies from an office occupancy perspective, for example. But from a flexible working perspective, London 2012 is going to need to be very different because TfL, for example, are communicating that if you want people to be in the city or in London for 9 a.m, actually during the games period, your planning assumption should be you either get them in before 7 or don't expect them in till after 10. So just to give you an idea of the scale of impact of the games itself. People and businesses are going to need to think differently about when their people are working. And I suppose what we would argue is that you should use London 2012 as a test bed to see to what extent you can drive more flexibility through your workforce and look at the business efficiencies that you can drive. Clearly, those transport peak times, are going to be a big challenge, and TfL is doing a lot of really good work on modelling some of the impact of games time traffic and transport use during that period of time, and they'll be providing guidance. I think there's some more coming out at the end of this month. So, from a games readiness perspective around HR and people in the offices and getting people into your buildings, I think it's really important to make sure you seek out that information, find out how it's going to affect you, factor in what you do as a business. I know that sounds straightforward, but what you do as a business, where you're based, and also your suppliers as well, and think about the impact of some of the challenges that they'll face on your business.
And can I just add on the transport side that you mentioned? Transport for London have literally modelled every half an hour where it's going to be busy. So, for example, London Bridge tube station, which is already one of the busiest, is going to be super busy at games time. But you can go onto the website and find out when it is particularly busy. And if it's 5 o'clock on a Thursday night, the idea is you don't send staff home. You either give them, vouchers to go and spend in the pub, put a large screen TV, or do something to alleviate what, at the moment, if it is normal traffic, would be hour-long queues, which doesn't serve a purpose for anyone other than you just add to the queue. So, but it does involve that planning, but the information is all out there.
And that's good to know. So From Lloyd's perspective, is flexible working something that you do as an organisation? Do you think it will increase? I mean, it sounds like you do during 2012. But...
Yeah, absolutely. And to add to Danny's point, we are using it as we're using 2012 as a catalyst to encourage more people to flexibly work. And what we find, it's good for business. You know, it's great for our carbon footprint. We're using less money. It's good for staff. Staff enjoy, and you mentioned that before. Staff enjoy flexible work, and they enjoy working from home occasionally. And it's good for time efficiency. And what we've recently implemented, and we implemented it as a cost-saving measure, and we didn't expect all the peripheral benefits, and that was a no-travel week. So this week happens to be a no-travel week, and that means that if you're not going to visit customers always important, you are not allowed to travel. So it encourages people to conference, to video conference, to pick up the telephone. Do you remember that before everyone emailed? And during the Games time, we're going to extend the no-travel week to a no-travel month. Based on around the fact it is going to be expensive to travel. Trains, planes, roads are going to be busier. So we'll have this whole no-travel month, but the no-travel weeks are almost preparing people for that. And if it works at Games time, well, we'll continue it, and it saves us money. It's good for business.